The second thing we're going to talk about this week is prepositions. And if you actually separate the preposition here, the word pre from position, that's exactly what the word means. A preposition means positioned before. And a preposition is a word that sits before a noun or a pronoun, and it shows that word's relationship to another nearby word. So if I had the word book here, if I had the noun book, and this is the preposition on, where's the book? This word, it shows the relationship of the book to the table. And where's the book related to the table? It's on the table. Here, around the world, around is the preposition, and it shows the relationship of the book to the world. Where is the book? Well, it's around the world. And again, under, so under is the preposition. What's the relation of the book to the elephant? Well, the book is under the elephant. And of course, here, in, that's the last preposition as example. Where's the book in relationship to the dungeon? The book is in the dungeon. And in Latin, we don't use as many prepositions as we do in English. But in Latin, what I like about it is it's clear that some are with the ablative and some are with the accusative. That's the only two cases that you can, noun cases that you can see an ablative, a preposition with, and what it is it follows, it's whatever case. So we've got the preposition. It's called a prepositional phrase. Sometimes there's a little word in between them, sometimes not. And then we have another noun. In English, we'd call that the object of the preposition. So if you know what an OP is, that is what this second word is. And this whole thing together, we'll put parentheses around. It's called a prepositional phrase. There is another noun outside, and the preposition shows the relationship between noun A and noun B. Okay, so back in chapter 9, you learned ablative of means, ablative of manner, and ablative of separation. Those don't require a Latin preposition, but remember when we translated them into English, we used the words by, with, or from that weren't in Latin but are in English. By, with, and from are also prepositions. So sometimes we don't have them in Latin, but we do use them in English. Okay, what I want you to do is pull out your preposition chart. I am going to erase all this here just to get us a clean slate. Get out your preposition chart. I gave it to you the same time I gave you your ablative and your accusative charts. It's probably in a page protector. You're going to fill your preposition chart out as we talk about this. And my recommendation is that anytime you learn a new preposition throughout your Latin life, you put them into this chart. There's clearly one side, there's prepositions that take the accusative and prepositions that take the ablative. It's sometimes hard to remember which one, so if you always have it in your chart, you know where to go take a look at for it. And all of these small words right here, odd, in, per, sub, trans, those are all prepositions in Latin. Very often you'll see prepositions that turn into prefixes into English. Like for instance, this preposition per, we often see it in words like perforate. And if something's perforated, that means a hole or something has gone through to the other side. So very often, I'll talk about these as we go along. All right, so the first one is odd. Odd takes the accusative and it can mean to, toward, near, or at. So if like we have advance, if we have advanced to something, it means we go forward to something. Another Latin preposition is in. And in English, we translate that to into or onto. Note that it is also here in Latin, and I'll get to that when we get over to that side. The next thing is per, and like I just told you, perforate, to go through. Sub, up to. We get words like substitute, submarine, right? So substitute. Any of those words that start, subway, right? Those words start with that Latin preposition. We've pulled them as prefixes into English. Another one, trans, means across in English, but put as a prefix into English, transportation, transport, transcontinental railroad, Remember the Transcontinental Railroad went all the way across the United States. And when you transport something, you usually take it across from one place to another. That'll help you kind of remember. So all of those take the accusative. I'll give you some examples and show how that works in a minute. And then we're going to do the ablative. So one thing to note, you will be tested on these prepositions. They're not actually in your vocabulary for chapter 11, but if you flip the next page in your book lists all these. I am going to give you a couple extra meanings. For instance, in your book, I think they have in plus the accusative just being into, but it can also mean onto. All right. A and ob. So these prepositions on the right-hand side take the are followed by the ablative. Not the noun before them, but the noun after them in the prepositional phrase are always in the ablative form. So a or ob means from or away from. A couple things to note here. So you have an a and you have an ob. How you decide is it works just like in English with an a or an an. So remember, if a word ends in a and it starts with a vowel like an apple, we say an. If we say a book, we wouldn't say an book. We wouldn't say a apple. So it works the same exact way in Latin as it does in English when any of these are two. E and X is another one. If it's followed by a vowel, then we do use the word X because it's just awkward to say. So it's awkward to say whether you're Latin or something else. Anyway, another thing I want to watch about, see a ob and a odd. How do you remember which one means to, toward, and which means away from? There's actually a visual clue. Look at the D in odd. It is facing toward the A, and it means to, toward, near, at. Ob, you see that the B is facing away from the A, and that's a little trick that will help you remember. All right, cum, I know you've seen this one already a couple times. It means with, and it also takes the ablative. Day, bunch of choices down from, about, or concerning. Those are all prepositions in English. E or X, same with a or ob, right? If it's followed by a vowel, it means out of or from. Oh, day. Let me give you that one. Next, let me back up to AB. We get the words like absent, right? To be away from, literally to be sent away from in English. So that's how example of how, again, it becomes the preposition in Latin becomes a prefix. Cum. This often turns into the con or com. Like if we had communicate, it means to what? To talk with somebody. Or conversation, right? Also, again, to talk with somebody, to converse, to go back and forth with them. So you'll see con and com much more than cum as a preposition in English. Day. Ooh, here's my favorite one. Here's a word we take in English. Defenestrate. We know fenestra is a window. De means down from. So what does it mean in English? To defenestrate means to throw something out of the window. All right. E or X, out of or from. Exit. Exit's another really interesting one in English because EX means out of. The word it in Latin means to go. So literally we pull the word exit in English, put those two things together, and it means to go out of. And of course, we see exit signs all over the place. Okay, or extraterrestrial. Terra means earth. So extra, there is a preposition called extra, but it starts with the same thing, right? Outside of the earth. So that whole EX. All right. In or on. In here takes the ablative. You notice in takes the ablative in this case, and in takes the accusative in this case. I'm going to give you a hint. It's into or onto. In, if we look at all of these accusatives, if you notice, they have some movement to them. To, toward, into, onto, through, up to, across. Those are all showing movement, and these are not much movement. If you're in something or on it, you're not really moving. You're just in or on it, right? If you're with something, not as much. So there is some movement in ablative, so it's not a rule, but it will help you remember if you use accusative or ablative when you see that preposition in. Pro means in front of or before, right? If you prorate something, if you're a professional, right? You're in front of, I mean, you're hopefully, if you're a professional, you're better at something than somebody else. You're in front of other people, right? And here's another one that both is, there's two of them, one case in the ablative and one usage, same word in the accusative. Sub with the ablative means under. Remember, not showing much movement. Sub in the accusative is up to. We're showing movement up to something. Okay, so let's take a look at, I'm going to erase this up here. Let's take a look at some English to Latin and Latin to English. I'll leave the prepositions up so you can see them. So across the field, how would you translate that to Latin? So we see trans is across. So we're going to do trans. They do not decline. So lucky for us, these are going to be much easier to do. So trans, and then we have to take the accusative. So ager, agrum in the accusative, right? In the accusative. With the soldiers. So there's only one of those to use, cum, and we know it doesn't matter, it doesn't get declined. It's just a word, so it doesn't matter whether it is singular or plural. And we'll put the ablative plural ending on the noun. Militibus. Okay, new word from this week. All right, e corpore. So we've got at right here, out of or from, your choice. So we're just going to do from the body. Okay, that one's pretty easy translated because when we translate in English, you don't have to worry about case. Now, ad regem, to, toward, nearer, at. We can pick one, and regem is king. We see that matches. That is accusative. We see that matches. So I'm going to say near the king. And you can have any choice you want as long as it makes sense in context with the rest of the sentence. Okay, in castras. Now let's go from, again, Latin to English. So how do we know whether it's the into, onto accusative or the in, on ablative? Well, that's easy. You take a look at the ending here. This clearly is an accusative ending. So we will translate it as into or onto, and castra is camp. So I'm just going to choose, you could do onto because it could dump rain onto the camp, right? But if I'm bursting into the camp or I'm throwing bombs into the camp, that's what I'm going to put. So either into or onto works. So same here in ripa. So if you look, A has that ablative ending. So I know it has to be in or on. And I'm going to put on the riverbank because in my head, the context says the boat landed on the riverbank. But again, context is king, and it rules. All right, so let's look at sub toga. So sub is, again, either can be accusative or it can be ablative. So what do I want to do? Well, I look right here and I see it has an ablative ending. So it has to be under. And I'm going to say under the toga. No choice. And then here I see sub toga. So I see sub again, but I see on this time an accusative ending. And I'm going to say up to the toga. I don't mean it's up to the toga like it's the toga's decision, but something. Maybe the water flooded up to the toga. I mean, it could be anything you want. We don't know because it's not context. We don't have context. Okay. Last thing, nouns that do not require prepositions. There are a few nouns. It's left over from actually really early Latin, or the language of the Latinum people that the Romans picked up and they developed into their own language. So there are a few nouns that don't require prepositions, just the appropriate noun case. You need to know this. You won't be using this for a while, but you just need to know it, so I want to introduce it to you. So it's the names of cities, small islands in the Mediterranean, so we wouldn't be talking about small islands in the Caribbean. The nouns domus, which means house, and rus, which means country, which means, opposite of city, not country, like the country of France, right? They don't use prepositions. They don't require them, just the appropriate noun case. Anyway, I just want you to know that now, so when it comes up later, you'll remember that I have taught you that. And that's easy. Now just lots of practice.